from the cold waters of the Bay to the much warmer climates of Hawaii. The Warriors, they're in Oahu for training camp, so we thought we'd bring maybe some of that aloha spirit to NBA today. Because here's Steph Curry receiving traditional leis from the BYU Hawaii team, and on the first day of training camp, getting some shots up with the leis on as well. And we are all envious of Kendra Andrews' assignment this week. Sis, next time, look at that backdrop. Just sneak me on in your bag. I can fit. I'll go with you. But the reality, Kendra, of life without Klay Thompson, it is setting in Hawaii at the Warriors training camp. So what is the biggest challenge that Steve Kerr is facing right now?
Yeah, Malika, that is just figuring out who his starting lineup is going to be. Yesterday, Steve Kerr said, look, the only two guys who know they have starting jobs are Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. Other than that, he is looking at all possible combinations to figure out not only who his best starting group would be, but also the best second unit. There are a lot of little battles to watch at the 5, at the 3, but the most interesting one, Malika, is at that starting two-guard position, the one that, of course, we all know used to belong to Klay Thompson.
I want Wiggs shooting, 6, 7 threes a game. I want Brandon. I want Moses. I want DeAnthony. I want to be a high-volume three-point shooting team. I think that's important for us. And the big shift is Klay's not here, right? So we were 4th in the league in three-point attempts last year, but Klay probably shot 8 or 10 of them himself every game. So we're going to have to fill that void, and that's going to come from multiple people.
Defensive-minded guy like Melton. You got a guy that's kind of a connector, can put the ball on the floor, create with BP. Obviously, me and BP started a couple times last year. You got Buddy who can shoot, space the floor, veteran who knows how to play. You got a lot of options. I don't know. And how with the backcourt in combination with our front court with size and versatility, there's a lot of things that we got to figure out this camp. To summarize it, I like where we're at with our options though, because I know with this roster we're going to have a lot of different takes on it as we go through the season, and I'm confident that we can adjust depending on who gets that role.
It looks like we may have a little bit of an issue here. Kendra frozen there in Hawaii, which, there's worse places. I don't know if you can actually be frozen in Hawaii. There's worse places to be. We'll check back in with Kendra in a second. But you guys couldn't see it, but as we were listening to Steve Kerr and Steph Curry there, Bobby was going through a roller coaster of his own. What were you thinking?
I actually went back to 2013. Okay. After we had made the Boston trade, we're in Duke having training camp, and our second unit destroyed our first unit. And what happened was we had too many players. Our depth was too much. And I think when you look at this Golden State team, is there too much depth to this roster? And let me explain it real quick.
That sounds like, is there too much cake for dessert?
And I love roster versatility, and I love depth. When you look at this Golden State roster, you could say that 12 out of the 14 players on this team can actually start for Steve Kerr. And does he have too many options to pick from here? The good thing is he just went through this with Team USA in the Olympics as far as from an option standpoint here. So that's my biggest concern for Golden State, is managing expectations of some of the players on this bench who maybe think they should be starting but are going to be in a reserve role here.
Perk, what are your thoughts on this?
I heard Kendra say the only two starters, right? The only two players that Steve Kerr named were Draymond Green and Steph Curry when it comes to the starting lineup. What about Jonathan Kuminga, right? Because outside of Steph Curry, if I was the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, I'm definitely coming in thinking about Jonathan Kuminga. I think he's going to be, or needs to be, the second option on this team. The jump that he took last season, going to averaging, around 16 points per game, right? Playing at an elite level, went on the streak, having 20, was averaging 20 for a while every single night. He basically changed their offense and made Steve Kerr, do things differently, right? And you start seeing him more in isolations and post-ups and being able to handle the ball. If I'm Steve Kerr, I gotta make sure I put a major focal point on Jonathan Kuminga, right? And on top of that, he hasn't signed a contract extension, so he's going to come into training camp into this season wanting to make a statement, as he should.
I think I'm sorry, Sinead. I think Jonathan Kuminga is the X factor. I think he's the X factor out of this group here. The unknown right now is the leap he'll take from his third year to his fourth year in the league. And I think certainly the rookie extension is something to monitor as we get closer to October 21st if there's not a extension in place. But what happens if Kuminga's coming off the bench? Here comes that versatility, and they have to go big, and Draymond's at the 4, and maybe Kevon Looney or Trace Jackson-Davis is at the 5. What's the mentality of Jonathan Kuminga, certainly from a starting standpoint?
Go ahead, Shanae.
Yeah, to me, I'm going to steal from my favorite Kendrick Perkins lines. They need to find people that are stars in their roles. And to me, I wouldn't settle for coming off the bench if I'm Jonathan Kuminga. The numbers that Perk is talking about, he went from 9 points per game to 16 points per game. And we all read between the tea leaves, where he had to advocate for himself to really get those opportunities for him to have those 20-point-per-game outputs. Also, it's that man right there, Andrew Wiggins. We've seen what he was able to do back in 2022. He was an all-star that year that they won the championship. So they need those two guys to really feel like they are playing at starter levels. And lastly, the last guy I'm sort of eyeing is Buddy Hield. We all know the role that Klay Thompson played in this Warriors dynasty. This is a guy who, ever since he was drafted, made the second most threes behind Steph Curry.
Right.
So he could really fill in quite nicely to the system that has already been established. Whether it's Wiggins, Kuminga, Hield, those three should emerge as those stars no matter what their role is.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting, though. I would have thought that they would have been more clear about their starting lineup being Curry, Podziemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond Green.
Well, especially last year, 27 different starting lineups.
And that was their most consistent one for 13 games.
We're a 46-win team, so there's got to be some clarity going into this season.
Well, and that lineup was 8-6 together, so we'll see. I don't think we can overstate how cool this is to see the league's first ever father-son duo on the court here. Our Dave McMenamin reported that LeBron James, he was approaching this season with a little bit of a different attitude. After practice, LeBron spoke about the expectations surrounding the Lakers this season.
Don't have any expectations. I think that's unfair to put any expectations on us right now. The only thing that we can count on each other is how we come to practice and come to work every day and trust the process and get better every day, and that's what it's about.
Our front office insider, Bobby Marks, joining us as well here. Bobby, what do you make of what we just heard from LeBron?
Yeah, a little bit like the first day of school, right? Everything is kind of new, and he certainly has tempered the expectations here. I think it's one thing if this was a new roster and this roster had turned over. But remember, this is the same team that lost to Denver in the first round here. So I think that's where he's kind of tempering the expectations as far as what to look forward to the season.
Well, and also remember, they're going to start the season without Jared Vanderbilt, their best perimeter defender, Christian Wood, their lone stretch 5 here, Perk.
We ain't letting Bron off the hook with this one. I thought it was always striving for greatness. And when you talk about greatness from a team aspect, greatness of LeBron James' team, greatness is winning the championship. Don't he still have Anthony Davis? Anthony Davis is on that roster, a guy that we was talking about all summer because how great he looked on both ends of the floor in the Olympics, right? And then all of a sudden, right, Darvin Ham wasn't getting it done. So you got J.J. Redick in the scene who got a pretty damn good coaching staff to help him out. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. When you wear a Laker uniform, and if you go ask the great Magic Johnson, you can go ask James Worthy, who actually worked for the network for the Lakers. They'll say, no, the expectations is actually going out there and winning the championship. I can't let Bron off the hook. He knows the expectations. We're not going to play down on it. We go, yeah.
But Perk, when we look, my brother, when we look at their roster, do we really believe that they have a championship roster? Because a couple months ago, the Boston Celtics won, and we were celebrating them because they had multiple, I'm talking about 3, 4, 5 All-Stars. I think it was inspiring to see LeBron and AD on the Olympics and them reminding us these are some of the greatest talents the NBA has. But the standard of the NBA is so much higher than just having those two guys. You need to have stars in their roles, and they have to sort of figure out, will Reeves take the next step? What are we going to get from Rui Hachimura? Are we really going to do what we've said we're trying to do and develop young stars alongside these giants? Like, the reality of their roster doesn't match up with the expectations of the Lakers past.
I think they have a championship roster, but three things have to break. Jared Vanderbilt has to be healthy. We get the Gabe Vincent we saw in Miami, and Max Christie takes a huge step in development. Then we can talk about them with some of these upper echelon teams.
Well, and those aren't three inconsequential things, Bobby, particularly when you're looking at a Western Conference that has just gotten more difficult. That's the fact of the matter. The Lakers, they tip off their preseason on Friday against the new-look Timberwolves.